Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock with the 2019 Top 5 Soulful Moments in Video Games. As you know from last year's list, this list highlights 5 moments from 5 different video games that made my soul jump, that made my heart quiver, and just made me so thankful for not only video games, but also experiencing them in 2019. Now, of course, with this list, there will be spoilers for certain games, including The Walking Dead, the final season, Judgment, Indivisible, and Death Stranding. They are also all listed in chronological order. First would be The Walking Dead, the final season. Now, I have been a big fan of not only the Walking Dead Telltale games, but also Telltale games in general. And 2019 was one of the most tumultuous years in the history of Telltale games, as the company went down right after the second episode of 4 from The Walking Dead, the final season, premiered. And this sent everyone, including yours truly, into a tailspin mentally and emotionally, as we believed that we would never see the conclusion of The Walking Dead, the final season. But thankfully, a group of people from Skybound and developers and designers put in that hard work to give us our last 2 episodes. And this episode, the final episode, showcase one of the most harrowing moments in the history of the entire franchise, that played off of what happened at the end of the emotional roller coaster that was the first season, with Clementine actually getting bit, and AJ, who she's been protecting, trying to raise, pretty much trying to be the lead to AJ's Clem, has put him in a position where he has to do really the unthinkable, and that is put down the person that he loves the most before she can turn. And it is such an emotional moment, not only because you realize what's happening, but also because of the emotional toll that you know it will affect AJ going forward, just like it did Clem all those seasons and years ago. The decision and the outcome aren't necessarily shown immediately, but just kind of hinted at. And it allows for the player to kind of take in everything, as Aaliyah Diane's Take Me Back, which was the song that played during the credits at the end of the final episode of season 1. And it just gave you this feeling of not only remorse, but definite closure to the overall series. And I'm not going to spoil what happens after the song, but I will say that they did a marvelous job of rectifying what could have been a disastrous moment, as we saw the end of the Walking Dead Telltale games not end in the way that we expected it to, and that is incomplete. The next game on my list is really my personal game of the year, and that is Mortal Kombat 11. And the reason I didn't note that there were spoilers when it comes to this game is because it has nothing to do with the story. It has everything to do with the online. One of the biggest things about a fighting game is its online capabilities. In Mortal Kombat 11, though a mixed bag at times due to connection issues and disconnections and quitalities, the fact of the matter is that a majority of the time online is so fun to play, especially for yours truly when he's playing with his main character, Baraka. And the greatest thing is beating someone that is either on your skill level or just a little bit better with a character you're unfamiliar with fighting. And for you to somehow just pull out a victory from the jaws of defeat is absolutely thrilling, and one of the main reasons why I so enjoy Mortal Kombat 11. The gameplay, I know a lot of people miss the juggling craziness that came in Mortal Kombat 10. I love the gameplay in Mortal Kombat 11. It can be frustrating at times. The hitboxes can be a little iffy at times, especially from overhead jumps from Scorpion players. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But overall, I so enjoy getting online with Mortal Kombat 11 because there's always a chance you'll have that one fight that tests your very technique, skills, and limits as a gamer, as a player, as a Mortal Kombat 11 aficionado, and pushes you to either suffer a grueling defeat or celebrate a triumphant victory. The next game on the list is Judgment, which was made by the same studio and developers behind the Yakuza series, and it really does have some odes and mostly gameplay features from Yakuza with a different spin featuring a main character that isn't on the side of crime or involved in a crime syndicate, but is fighting for justice, fighting for the common man, fighting for people that can't fight for themselves, including people that are being sexually or attempted to be sexually assaulted. And in true Yakuza form, this game presents perverts in the most disturbing way possible, including Ass Ketchum, a habitual butt grabber, including Grand Impact, an old man who wears nothing but a giant leaf over his privates. It is so gratifying to beat these perverts up and down the alleyways, shoot them from the side of buildings because one judge becomes Spider-Man apparently. And it's just not only satisfying to beat up a pervert and explain to them that they're going to jail and they have all the butts they can grab there, but also for the pure unadulterated fact that the wackiness and zaniness from the studio behind the Yakuza franchise is just done incredibly well here. Not only is it a fantastic game, but it also has some very memorable set pieces and missions, including the ones featuring the pervert trio. There's always one unexpected game that makes my list. Last year it was WWE 2K19 for its story mode. This year it's a little RPG named Indivisible. I had heard rumblings about Indivisible after it came out. Reviews were very positive for it, saying that it was an old school RPG platformer that people like yours truly would thoroughly enjoy. And lo and behold, I definitely enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite games of 2019 that I never would have expected. It is a game that focuses on timed combat, featuring button presses, paying attention to enemy patterns, a pretty good story, nothing really remarkable, but very inclusive, and most importantly, a cast of characters that will leave you laughing and smiling throughout, including Rosmi, who is just one of the darkest characters you could ever meet, but with a heart of gold. There are several moments that it's just profound when it comes to the presentation of Indivisible, but I gotta say, the best part was right at the very end, when you have Ajna, who is the lead character, going around and talking to every person that she's recruited, every teammate that has worked alongside her leading up to the final battle. It's a great piece that is just emotionally telling of the journey that you've experienced. And as I said with Rosmi, who is this very dark, brooding character, actually breaking down and admitting to Ajna just how much she really cares for her without admitting that she cares for her. It was such an emotional moment that made me realize just how much of an impact they had on me during this journey that I thoroughly enjoyed and quite honestly didn't expect to be so enjoyable as it was. Last but not least is Death Stranding, which is one of the most ambitious yet vague, polarizing experiences you could have not only in 2019 in video games but of all time. This walking package delivery simulator featuring a post-apocalyptic world, aliens, babies in jars, and Norman Reedus' shower water, pee, and feces all being used to make grenades. This game is Hideo Kojima at his best and worst, if there ever was a game. But at the root of it all is a story that is not only profound but exhilarating. I enjoyed the story through and through, especially when you got to the latter half of the game and it really started ramping up and you finally understood a lot of the reasons why things were happening and the connections. But for me, the most emphatic part about Death Stranding is the community itself, the gamers themselves. It was so fascinating to walk up into an area after traversing it to put it on the chiral network and to unlock it essentially and reveal all of these areas, all of these items, all of these things like bridges, like post boxes, like roads, like generators, like vehicles that other players who are connected to the server have either crafted and left or built for other players was so mind-blowing. There was a moment pretty early in the game where I stepped out into a wooded area after helping this area get into the Cairo network, to find out that other players who had been here before I was, that were connected to the server, had put out a bridge that would help me get over a river that was just mind-blowing, because I didn't expect something like this. And then to go out further west and find roads, an actual road that people have put in time and effort to build, and materials, so it will be easier for me to cross it. Not necessarily for me personally, but for any person that's involved in the game, that's playing the game during that time. There were so many moments for yours truly of being so grateful for roads, for generators, for just these items that were placed at the right spot at the right time, that allowed for me to be able to get through the United States a lot easier, a lot quicker, and a lot more efficiently, so my packages could be delivered in the best shape possible. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, with the 2019 Top 5 Soulful Moments in Video Games. Now I'm going to go get ready for the new year and give you one last for 2019. Oh Lordy!